Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me. My name is Joanne Hedger. I'm looking forward to spending the next 20 to 25 minutes with you and giving you a little bit more information about Zambia, the Kafue National Park and Mukambi safaris, where I work as a seasonal guide and camp manager for 4 or 5 months of the year. Zambia is completely off the beaten path when it comes to Africa. Up until today, the country's been virtually overlooked by safari travellers. In fact, over 50% of visitors to Zambia only set foot in the country to see the Victoria Falls. But there's so much more to discover in Zambia, especially an abundance of wildlife. And so for me, it's time to put Zambia on the map. Previously known as Northern Rhodesia, Zambia is in the southern half of Africa, landlocked and bordered by about 8 countries. It gets along well with these neighbours and has enjoyed many decades of peace. There are 72 languages spoken across the various Zambian tribes, but English is the official language. And an impressive 30% of Zambia's landmass is dedicated for wildlife, and that's either as national parks or game reserves. These regions feature some of the most abundant wildlife in all of Africa. It really is a central jewel in this continent. And with the added bonus that you have the animals pretty much all to yourself, because it's still very much a best kept secret. So let's introduce you to my seasonal office, starting with the climate. Zambia experiences a predominantly subtropical climate, characterised by 3 distinct seasons. They have a cool, dry season, May to August. You see the temperature dips during the evening. And a hot, dry season, mid-August to November, when the rains come, and the third season typically is the wet, rainy season from mid-November to April. Many camps are only open during this dry season. Typically, we see the majority of tourists opting for the latter part of the dry season, summer into early autumn in Europe, but it can get extremely hot. So if fresher, cooler mornings are your thing, then the early part of the dry season will be your preference. As I mentioned previously, Victoria Falls, which we see here, the Mighty Falls, or Muziotunya, as the locals refer to it, it's one of the main reasons that tourists come to Zambia. It's part of the Zambezi River flowing down between Zimbabwe and Zambia. And in fact, Zambia is one of the most water-rich countries in the whole of Africa, with 5 vast lakes, 3 major rivers, 17 waterfalls, and various wetland areas. As we see here, the mighty Zambezi River, and of course we have the Kafue River, the Luangwa, and all their associated tributaries, which we will look into as we move through this afternoon. As we see from this recent article from Forbes magazine, Zambia is climbing fast in the popularity charts, and so it won't be long before tourists are flocking to the country. My suggestion, get in quick before it becomes like the Masai Mara or the Kruger Park in South Africa and mass tourism takes over. Let's keep the park exclusive, private, endlessly wild, and of course pristine. To many people, when the continent of Africa is mentioned, there's a sense of it not being a safe continent, full of trouble, full of disease and so on. But actually, Zambia, of all the African countries, has recently been voted one of the safest to visit. This recent study, in fact this year, 2022, Zambia was voted one of the safest countries in Africa. We have good connections across the continent from Lusaka Airport, the capital. We have very easy tourist visas which can be obtained on arrival, fairly low cost, nice and easy and straightforward. And of course, from a safety point of view, we will collect you from that airport. We will bring you door to door in our luxury air-conditioned vehicle so that you're never actually on your own at any point. Here we see the map of Zambia showing just how much water and wildlife areas there are spread across the country. The largest of those, marked here in orange, the Kafue, was first established as a national park in the 50s by the legendary Norman Carr. Kafue is one of the largest national parks in the whole of Africa, not just Zambia, spanning 22,500 square kilometres of spectacular African wilderness, and that's over half the size of the Netherlands. It's larger, in fact, than the Kruger Park in South Africa, but of course with a fraction of the tourists. But despite its size and prominent location, only 2 hours drive from Livingstone and the Victoria Falls, it remains little known and it's largely unexplored, with vast tracts of its virgin bush still untouched. The Kafue is also close to Lusaka, the capital. With approximately 3 to 4 hours driving, many camps can be comfortably reached by really good roads. There are also airstrips throughout the national park, so fly-in safaris are also very good and possible options. In recent years, the park has seen a well-managed growth in the number of safari camps and lodges that operate in and around the park. This new interest has brought with it more investment to the area, notably in the infrastructure, with a number of well-graded roads and airstrips being put in and maintained. As a consequence of this increasing interest and benefits in terms of investment, the wildlife is beginning to enjoy an increased level of protection by the current managers, African Parks, who are working alongside Zambia's Department for National Parks and Wildlife, DNPW, and of course those operating in the park as lodges, camps and tour guides. Kafue is characterised by mostly flat open landscapes, typically by savanna grasslands with miombo woodland areas. The gentle contours result in seasonal flooding in many places, creating various lakes and wetlands, which we also know as dambos, and they spread throughout the park and can cover up to 30% of the area. But the best of all is the untouched nature of the wilderness that the park has to offer, as mass tourism simply doesn't exist. It's leaving the park pure and its parts unexplored. The breeding herds of elephants have settled down and the large predators are back in numbers. But at present, the tourist numbers are still low, which gives visitors a truly exclusive experience and allows for unlimited time with animals during sightings. This is what real safari should be like. Excellent game viewing with a rich diversity of habitats and therefore wildlife. Stunning landscapes, all unspoilt. Kafue boasts spectacular wildlife, including 158 mammal species with healthy populations of elephants, buffalo, lion, cheetah, leopard, hyena, hippopotamus, crocodile, zebra and a variety of antelopes. The sheer expanse of the park may make it more difficult to sight the animals, but this also heightens the anticipation and thrill when you do see them. None of the lodges and camps are fenced off in Kafue, so the wildlife is able to roam freely through these areas, a great reminder that you're in another world. You are in an untamed and unaffected world, unaffected by human activity. Any keen birders in the room? The diversity of habitat makes Kafue National Park one of the best locations in Africa for birding. Kafue is considered as an important bird conservation site, with the river and its tributaries attracting scores of incredible bird species. Bird watching is at its best during the wetter summer months when the migratory birds are also on display. Once the rain has subsided, the park is green and lush, making it perfect for bird watching. And the Kafue River, wetlands, savanna and woodland boast an impressive 478 of Zambia's 733 recorded bird species. Among them things like the African wattled and crowned cranes, fish eagles, woolly-necked storks, saddle-billed storks and Goliath herons. There's the huge ground hornbill, the rare African finfoot and the Pell's fishing owl, not to mention the purple-crested lowry and of course the Chaplin's barbet indigenous to Zambia. Here's an interesting fact, and one which I love. The Kruger receives 1.4 million visitors a year. And remember, the Kruger is smaller than the Kafue. The Kafue gets just 10,000. And this means, I love statistics like this, this means that while you're on safari in South Africa in the Kruger National Park, you are sharing the park with an average of nearly 4,000 people each day. Whereas if you came to the Kafue, that average comes down to 27 people. Obviously it's going to vary at different seasons, but you're never going to be in a situation where there's you and 20 vehicles all queuing to see a leopard. You find a leopard, there's a high probability you'll be the only vehicle around for a good while and you will have that animal all to yourself. Now, how marvellous is that? So let's say you're considering Zambia. You're impressed by the Kafue, you like the idea of it. The next question we have to consider is, why would you look at Mukambi safaris? Who are we? What do we do? Where do we sit? Well, Mukambi safaris are fundamentally formed by the Van der Heide family, Robert and Hedger and their three beautiful daughters, a Dutch family that took over the lodge over 20 years ago, and have made huge strides into protecting the Kafue, conservation, providing jobs and resources for local people and the local community. Commonly known as the gateway to the Kafue National Park, Mukambi Safari Lodge, the main lodge, is centrally located in the park, right on the banks of the stunning Kafue River. We have 3 locations in total, the main lodge, pictured here, and then 2 remote bush camps in 2 very different habitats. We have Busanga in the north and Fig Tree, which is about an hour by 4x4 vehicle across the river. The main lodge itself consists of a thatched building with several decks overlooking the river, and offers a new infinity pool. So on hot days you can relax in the pool, looking over the river, peacefully reading one of the books from our small library. And then when you come back from your activities, you can relax with a drink in the lounge areas, all offering stunning views over the river and of course where the sun sets, sparkling its way across the water. We also have a campfire area, as you see pictured here, where you can spend the evenings chatting to our guides and stargazing to the huge African night sky. We also have a curio shop offering a selection of products made by the local villagers, or you can ask for one of the massages from our masseur resident on site, and they take place in the comfort of your room. The Busanga Plain is a highlight of the Kafue National Park, often compared to the Serengeti with its wide floodplain teeming with wildlife for long periods of the year after the annual floods. Thousands of grazing animals migrate to the green plains and are inevitably followed by plenty of predators. This area of the park is off the beaten track and should not be missed. In the dry season, the 1,900-kilometre long Kafue River becomes the lifeblood of the park, with animals gathering on its banks to drink. The Busanga Plain is 720 square kilometres of palm groves, papyrus-choked reed beds and lily-covered lagoons, representing one of the few wetland wildernesses in the world, and crammed full of birds, hippos, grazers. There is always something to see, day or night. So where is this Eden? Where are Busanga Plains in the grand scheme of the Kafue National Park? Well, you'll see the red marker at the top of the park there. That marks Busanga Plains. And the M9 crossing the middle of the park is where the main lodge is. So it's not too far. Some guests take a short 1-hour flight on a small plane to reach the Busanga airstrip from the lodge. Others choose to make a day of it, take a long game drive, driving the entire length of the park following the river, which is also a beautiful way to reach the camp. Wow, one of my favourite scenes to wake up to in July and August in the morning is this dawn mist. This image was taken in the cooler months. Early morning mist provides that magical backdrop to silhouette the hundreds of grazing red lecturae that roam the plains. It really is a photographer's dream. Gotta get up early though. Busanga is a landscape so distinctive. It's like no other you will see in Africa. This is the Africa you've dreamed of. And so we've put together a starbed complete with facilities to allow you to appreciate the vastness and freedom that makes Busanga so special. Do you fancy drifting off to sleep to the sounds of the African night under a blanket of twinkling stars and the Milky Way that's so visible it's you can read by it? In June of 2015, Mukambi opened a new luxury bush camp called Fig Tree Bush Camp in an undiscovered part of the park. It's named after the giant fig tree next to the boma you see pictured here, overlooking a unique sandy lagoon. The lagoon maintains its alluring water throughout the season, attracting an array of wildlife, including elephant, puku, impala, warthog, zebra and hartebeest. Predators like lion, cheetah, leopard and hyena are regular visitors, and the wild dog have also been known to prey on the concentration of game. I myself have sat eating lunch one day when a leopard came down to the lagoon to drink, which was quite a surprise for my guests, I have to say. The camp has tented accommodation on 3-metre high platforms above the ground, giving a spectacular view of the plains and, of course, the lagoon where the various animals come down to drink. And of course, when the days get too hot and you need to cool down, Fig Tree's infinity pool provides the perfect spot from which to watch the wildlife wandering by. It's also my favourite spot to watch the full moon rising. It simply lights up the bush and it is spectacular. Something definitely not to be missed. Going out at dawn and dusk, game drives are the most popular way to spend your days on safari. The morning game drives see the sunrise and the bush wake up, the birds erupt into a deafening chorus, and the predators find somewhere shady to relax. The evening game drives are a little more adventurous since you get to witness the shift change when the daytime animals take cover and the nocturnal predators wake up. And evening game drives usually end with a nighttime safari, about 40 minutes to an hour in the dark using a spotlight when the stars really do come alive and the sounds really will make your heart rate go up. Dawn walking safaris last a few hours and are more of an educational activity, a nature walk if you like. Large game can be spotted and often are, but the guests are taught mainly about the plant and insect life at their feet, things around them, the trees, as well as medicinal and culinary uses for these things. Also, our guides are experienced trackers. So, like going out in the morning and reading the newspaper, these guys will read the road. They'll give you detailed descriptions of what animals have passed by, what they've been up to, and how best to go looking for them. It's a fascinating few hours. The boat cruise is more of a relaxing activity and allows guests to put their feet up and enjoy the scenery. It goes out at sunset, so after a hard day out in the bush, it's the best way to relax and put your feet up. Guests can view the vastness of the mighty Kafue and acknowledge the unique ecosystem which our guides are always more than willing to educate you about. What impresses most guests on the riverboat cruise is that there are no other boats to see. You have the river entirely to yourself. Sightings are always different, regularly hippos, crocodiles, different antelope on the banks, and sometimes elephants drinking or even crossing the river are fairly common sightings. The Kafue River has also some of Africa's largest Nile crocodiles, which can be seen from the safety of our pontoon boat, pictured here. And bird watchers, of course, on the boat will be in their element. There are common sightings like the rarer African finfoot, jacanas, wattle crane, open and saddle-billed storks, and of course a variety of kingfishers. The river itself has spectacular riverine forests on its banks, and it flows throughout the year, changing from a wide, slow-flowing river to stretches broken up by little islands with fast-flowing water, rapids and so on. So the fishing trip also gives the opportunity to relax and try one's hand at catching some larger fish. Some of the most common fish caught include bream, Kafue bream, silver barbel and Kafue pike. Mukambi Community School, which is just next door to the main lodge, provides education to those living in an area where no good schools exist. And the results are quite spectacular. The school now provides dozens of local children with a high standard of education and of course local teachers with permanent employment. During your stay with us, just let us know. We can take you over there. The children will be more than happy to see you come in and to show you their workbooks. All that's left for me to say is thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to know more and you're interested, please do come and visit us. We're over on stand number 2 in the main hall. We'd love to show you the different packages we have available, have a chat with you about and answer any questions that you may have. So do come see us. Thanks ever so much.